Welcome back to the Backstage. I'm Rick Sebastiani. Joining me now is the CEO and co-founder of Crave Jerky, Mr. John Sebastiani. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Now, I invited you to be here, and I'm super excited that you could join us. I happen to be a huge fan of Crave Jerky personally. Not only the product, but also your story. I routinely have like 2 or 3 bags in my refrigerator. I know you don't have to refrigerate beef jerky, but
that's right.
but I like to. So I was introduced to you. I took an entrepreneurship class at the University of California, Berkeley's School of Business, and the professor, Steve Blank, told your story in a really amazing way. Give us a little bit would you mind telling that story in kind of your own words about how you came up with the idea for Crave, what the sort of early steps were to develop this product? And by the way, it's delicious. Like I really love it.
Sure. So the company was founded in really your classic disruption effort. And what we identified was this very stale category of jerky. This category that was thought about as something that was a product riddled with nitrates. It didn't have really any prestige. It had a negative stigma. Yet it was a pretty big category. It's a $4 billion US category. And when we looked into it a little bit deeper, there were really 4 companies that had an 85% market share. So it was really that moment of, wow, here's an opportunity to be very different very quickly in a pretty big category. So I was at UC Berkeley as well in Steve Blank's class. And we had a prototype. We had the idea generally, but it hadn't been tested. It hadn't been vetted.
And we, like you and a couple of your other co-founders.
Yeah, no, actually me and a co-founder
Yeah.
kind of germinated the idea, and
Sure.
then during the course, I had 2 team members
Sure.
that kind of helped during the process.
And this was an entrepreneurship kind of
correct.
lab.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Cool.
So we really, wanted to test the thesis that here was a product that was by and large a gas station afterthought, and was the consumer ready for something of more quality, with more sophistication, with more flavor, a little bit more glamour to it.
Sure.
And so we kind of walked into Steve Blank's class and started identifying, were we a Whole Foods customer? Was that the only person we were looking for? Were we looking for women? Were we looking for men? And basically, to summarize a lot of detail in our findings by getting out of the building, you probably recall hearing that.
Sure.
And doing endless surveys, we spoke with Safeway. And we basically brought to Safeway this hypothesis that their consumer was looking for a product, that we were a possible solution to kind of enhancing this stale category. And by and large, they gave us a PO literally within days after, and so quickly issued us a check in advance towards the PO. So I was able to go to Steve's class and sort of review what we had done that week.
Yeah.
And I was able to take a photo of a $500,000 check and show it up and kind of say, this was my customer discovery for the week.
Yeah.
It was a very cool moment.
It's super inspiring. And so not that that's an overnight success, but it was like a great idea, really a lot of work in a very small amount of time to identify a customer, understand the marketplace, and then get something to a potential buyer and execute over the course of a very short period of time.
Yeah.
But I want to go back a little bit before that, like disruption as a concept within food, within jerky. What was the reaction when you walked into class and said, I want to disrupt beef jerky?
I think there was a lot of a little bit of laughter underneath the undertones. Certainly people don't immediately think of beef jerky as something that you want to aspire to get involved in. It's an afterthought. Mm-hmm. And the thinking from my perspective was, what easier way to be different than to approach a category that's big, that is so stale.
Yeah.
And so the disruption in our minds was not so much a quality. I mean, we have 8 flavors. The major difference in some of our approach is really threefold. We have sophisticated flavors,
right.
So it's a whole flavor profile of the general consumer trends that the new generations are looking for better for you products. They pay attention to the ingredients.
Yep.
They're looking to be, pleased with newness in their flavor profile. So we have flavors that are very different. We use all natural, gluten-free. ingredients so that it's a very healthy snack. But the disruption was not only just in the category, but really taking something that was an afterthought. And our focus is going after snacking trends in the U.S. And so we go after Cliff Bars and pretzels and chips and any other snack that you would otherwise think is a healthy snack. Sure. We're trying to reintroduce jerky.
Gotcha, as part of that. And so you kind of, to a certain extent, picked your competition by, you say, a stale category that sort of seemed like an afterthought. Actually was a great opportunity to innovate and to select competitors that were maybe a little complacent. Like 4 companies, 85% of the market.
That's correct.
They're not incented to be competitive, so you can come in with something, a totally different perspective, and catch them to a certain extent a little bit off guard.
That's right. And I think we did catch them off guard, and we have since received some feedback from them as such that we're making a dent in the market. It's 3 years later, we are the #2 brand in Nielsen ratings in Northern California.
Wow.
We're coast to coast. We're #3 in Boston. We kind of have, distribution is not fully mature at this point, but it's mature enough for us to make some serious gains in the space. Plus, suddenly, there's attention to this category.
Right.
We've been featured in the front page of the business section of the New York Times, on Oprah. We've had airings on the Today Show. So suddenly we're bringing all this new attention to jerky as a healthy snack.
Right.
So the whole category is growing.
Right. And by introducing new flavors for a more discriminating consumer, you can expand the category for everybody. Going after, you said, the Cliff Bars, which is perceived to be a healthy snack, may or may not necessarily be the case. But with jerky, high in protein, low in fats, like it's my favorite snack food.
One of the things that we do is like Gary Erickson that started Cliff Bar is we put the product where activity would associate high protein healthy snacks. So we sponsor a U.S. Olympic marathon runner. We're beginning to sponsor sports teams. We put our field marketing folks at the finish line of marathons and triathlons and bike rides. We sponsor casual, just runners that want to run their first half marathon. So we really try to associate ourselves with this fitness. Yeah. I mean, the running logo on the package kind of indicates that we're interested in better for you health.
And that's when I discovered the product. When I was making a dietary shift, I was basically trying to refocus my life around more nutrition, more activity, and needed like high protein snacks to keep me going after I'd taken up boxing as a sport, which is a whole other crazy thing.
It's fantastic.
And this, was a great after workout snack to get the protein that I needed for recovery. So that's all super interesting from my personal point of view. Let's go back to understanding the consumer. So one thing that Steve Blank talks about in the course that we both took at different times, getting outside the building and talking to your consumer. What was that process like for you, and what does that mean? Can you go into a little bit more detail for the folks across the web?
So literally, I took it at its meaning, which is talking to customers. And for us, our customers were twofold. I mean, we're in the we're in a food category that's distributed. So our customers could be a Safeway, a retailer, that if they don't care and they don't believe in the thesis that their consumer is actually going to reach for our product, will never get out of the batter's box. Right. So we got out of the building and we talked to Whole Foods, sort of the natural first step that one would expect a category to be elevated in. And that's, we talked to Safeway, we talked to a lot of different retailers. We did in-store demos where we basically said, we're going to give you the product for free. We just want to prove that your customers want that. So allow us to come in, we'll give you the product, and we'll conduct a 4-hour demo. Right. And we would sell more jerky in a given 4-hour period than they did in the past week. And then we went out and tried to discuss who our customer was and what message points they really wanted to hear. Did they want to hear about the flavor? Did they want to hear about the differences of ingredients? Or did they just want to hear that it was good? For the first time, the jerky's actually good. So we did have a few pivots in terms of not trying to be the next gluten-free kombucha sold in Whole Foods. We were a snack food that people were familiar with, that we wanted to focus on women, we wanted to focus on just being good.
Sure. So the definition of a customer is really important. I think a lot of people make that mistake. Your first customer, the people who actually buy the product from you directly, are the supermarkets, the distributors. The end consumer is who they are selling to.
That's correct.
So you have to understand who's actually going to give you a check, Safeway, and then how they are going to turn around and you need to market your product for them to the end consumer, which are two very different things, very different motivations.
Two very different things,
Yeah.
but obviously as a brand we have to think through and plan for both scenarios, because not only do we need that retailer to believe in our message points, but then we'll obviously have to do the legwork to have the pull off the shelf, to have the consumers come in. Most people don't have an awareness of the type of jerky that we've got, so we have to teach them.
Right. So you've developed deep understanding of your end consumer, what motivates them,
That's right.
what messaging points are going to be more effective versus others, and that takes a ton of time. And that's something you've talked about, talking to people face to face. Why face to face versus just throwing a survey out there?
Well, I think the believability factor, there's something that about our brand that is very exciting and very passionate. And while we're jerky, the brand and the message points that we try to convey are all about something that's going to be trendy, that you need to pay attention to. If you create a sense of excitement, people will actually listen to what you have to say. So the packaging itself, just the design, the colors, the people that we hire. We've begun hiring field teams, so Vitamin Water did a very good job sort of changing the face of beverage, and in many ways that's what we're doing. So I just don't believe that, especially a category like jerky that sort of needs so much re-education, you need that interpersonal ability to speak. Not required in all events,
but also to see what people respond to, like look in their eyes and see their body language as opposed to just kind of black and white data on a spreadsheet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's no humanity there. So you've obviously been hugely successful in a brief period of time, but we don't want to sugarcoat it and pretend like it's all sunshine and rainbows. What's the hardest day that you've experienced as an entrepreneur? Can you share that with the folks?
I think the hardest days for me were the early days. Jerky is a great example of an idea that off the lip doesn't sound that exciting. Mm-hmm. It took a tremendous amount of sort of belief and really perseverance to get over the factor that we were going to disrupt jerky. Yeah. So I think those early days of really pioneering the mission and the thesis that we were going to go after.
And you're a highly educated guy. You were going to business school at Cal, which is a top business school, and you're like, I'm going to be the jerky guy. Like,
yes, that was
a fair amount of fear.
No doubt. I mean, a lot of fear. I did not tell my wife that I was going to do this until about 3 months after I even had the prototype, just because I wanted the freedom to kind of retreat if
didn't even tell your family.
So it was the idea, again, this is sort of the challenge is really having the courage to believe in an idea that most normal people, when they first hear it, are not going to go, wow, that's exciting, tell me more.
But it wasn't just the courage to take a step in that direction, it was the next step, the actually testing that idea, going out and seeing, like, is this something that the marketplace is actually going to react to? You didn't throw a Hail Mary pass. You had an idea, you believed in that idea, then you tested the idea rigorously. Yes. And you tested food, which is not a website.
I mean, Steve Blank's class was a great incubator for me because obviously I was surrounded by technology and clean energy ideas, and here I was really the only food-related concept. And I think some of the plans that we had were very easy to understand. They were very easy steps, talking to the end consumer, talking to mom who's making healthy decisions about her children. Those were easy things for people to understand. And I think we were able to kind of take each win and spin it and then propel it kind of 3x to the next deal.
That's awesome. What advice would you have for entrepreneurs that are just starting out?
Well, I think, courage is certainly one that I've said a few times, and perseverance, of course, two of the most commonly used words, just to kind of greet challenge with enthusiasm. I would say find your early team quickly. I was very lucky to find a co-founder with me who was instrumental in the early days to not only support some of those moments of time where you question the entire plan,
sure.
not to mention to add some credibility in the early fundraising and so forth. So I think your early team, perseverance, you know, and coming from an academic setting too, I was able to, you know, for example, use Steve, who's on our advisory board, and continue to, you know, expand my network through his, which has been tremendously beneficial.
Terrific. So early team of colleagues, you know, co-founders to keep one another motivated, bounce ideas off of. Early customers, identifying those, and then early advisors, influencers can help you get access to the supermarket chains that you had to get into, can help you gather other resources that are necessary for success.
Yeah.
Terrific. So let's tell the folks where they can find Crave Jerky, your local supermarket.
Yeah, your local, so we're Safeway, Target, Costco, depending, we're coast to coast. We're in Canada now. We're lots of independent stores. We're not in gas stations. That's sort of where we draw the line there.
Okay.
And we're not in Walmart, so, but we should be in most other grocery stores.
Fantastic. John Sebastiani, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.